Good day, my koala crew, and welcome back to the Corner of Remnant. I'm your host, Larissa, and joined by co-host Emperial Dawn.
Hello.
And today we're discussing Chapter 13 of RWBY Volume 8. And what an episode this was.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like we've had the same kind of intros of late. It's just been one episode, and it's just like, yeah, what else do you say?
Yeah, this was a thing. A lot of bad things happened. It's funny because...
Which is good.
Yeah.
Good, bad, drama and such.
Exactly.
Spice of life.
It's just like, their plans were all going correct for once in the previous... In Chapter 12, everything was going to plan, everything was working, and then the description of Chapter 13 was well-laid plans, ...
I mean, it really was going too well.
Yeah.
Chapter 12,
had to be something wrong.
Got Penny the Relic, outsmarted Ambrosius. It all was too, almost felt like at the time, like it's like, wow, that really quickly just all wrapped up really well.
It went really well.
Left, and just ended with a tease of Cinder, so you knew something was going to happen.
Yes.
And yeah, going into this episode again, it was kind of similar. Again, it just feels so. I don't mean this as a critique of at all, but it's just so interesting how the season felt. Like it was really well paced, like of all the stuff, like and all this. The only thing that maybe was questionably paced was just like our team being in the mansion for so long.
Yeah.
But then like the pace is consistent, it's going well, and then we get to these last 4-5 episodes. It just feels like so much is happening so quickly.
Yes. Yeah. So much is happening.
Not saying, and again, not criticizing that. It's just very different.
Yeah.
How the rest of the season has felt, and again, it makes sense with that whole, building us up to tear us down. Saw episode 12 and now episode 13.
Yep.
And now who knows what the hell's going to happen of
yes. It's turning into volume 3 all over again. Yeah. So overall I really enjoyed the episode. In a way it felt very surreal with all like the doorways and stuff. But that was really cool. We got to see Evacuate, which was awesome, but in the middle of a sandstorm.
I figured we'd see it. Yeah, at least that.
Yes. Well, I hope we get a glimpse of Evacuate, which we did.
And we still have room in the air for people to maybe show up or to actually see the kingdom, like with that, we're seeing just the desert in episode 13.
Yes.
We now have that kind of tease of, could we see more before the volume's out? And again, I don't want to put any
I had a thought because with because we've read the books Before the Dawn and After the Fall, and Fox can sense auras and such, and I was wondering maybe he'll sense the whole kingdom of Atlas out in the desert, but I don't know. Maybe.
I guess an interesting thing too there. Of course, if you haven't read the books, spoilers ahead. Because we're getting to that point now where it feels like hopefully people should have had to read the books, hopefully.
Maybe. At least to help fill in a few of the gaps.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying we're getting to the stuff now where, like, if you haven't read the books at this point, you might want to catch up with that because you might be getting spoiled at some point soon by the show itself. Yeah,
I'm assuming the events of the books have happened prior to now. What's happening now?
It was a thing for the longest time, especially in this recent book. It felt as if the events of that book were happening way after. Not way after, but at least ahead of the show when they came out.
Yep.
But now the show is kind of catched up. And again, what I'm trying to say here is that at the end of the second book, it mentions how a storm is coming. Now, a lot of us, once Volume 7 ended, we're kind of like, well, maybe that's similar to the Grim Storm. We're sailing on a shop on Vacuo, is that what they're referencing? But as we showed up now with Team Green in
Team
Vacuo,
Green.
in Vacuo, that again, it's in the middle of a storm. So happens to be the storm they're referencing or not, I don't know. But
it's a pretty bad sandstorm.
That was something interesting I saw on Reddit or Twitter, referencing the storm mentioned at the end of that book and the storm we saw here. So that could be an interesting tie-in, maybe to tie the
possibly. I did forget about that mention at the end of the book. It's been a while since I've read it now. But But your overall thoughts of the episode?
I really like it. I think the best compliment I can give this episode is that I've never been more mad than an episode ended. This episode felt long. This episode feels long.
It does, but it was...
It just goes from point to point, and you realise that the portal stuff is actually is only like such a small portion of this episode. Like, so much of this episode is Aesop stuff, Crow stuff, Ironwood stuff.
And we had Team Evil. I don't know what else to call them.
Yeah.
But with Jin and everything as well.
Exactly. Like you forget like how little was actually spent with kind of the main juice of the episode.
Yes.
I suppose. But no, I really enjoyed it, and again, when it ended, I was actually mad. I don't normally get that way.
Yeah, I was annoyed. I was like, why are you ending like this? Like, this isn't fair. What are you doing? Well, we should hopefully find out tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to tie it all up. It's just too much to fit in one episode. But
the only reason why I'm more confident that it might, apart from maybe, might not know what happens with Juniper, might not know what happens with Team Green and Vacuo, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just because we know that Volume 9 is meant to be something different, we know that Volume 9 is meant to be something other, it makes sense that we do wrap up Team RWBY in some sense.
Yeah.
Whether or not they follow someone's unfortunate lead, or whether or not they use the relic and do something drastic, which changes the whole flow of whatever the next season's going to be. I don't know.
I don't know. Really, yeah. Don't know where this is going to go.
We'll get into it, of course. We're being vague for the second, but yeah.
Well, we can start going over the episode recap, I think. So starting at the start of the episode,
that was one.
Yep. So we see Oscar and the gang. They're trying to do the broadcast. They got cut off. I was like, "What do we do now?" And the doors appeared. I like how they had John go through first, and with him always vomiting again. I love that little sort of like flashback stuff.
Yeah, I always love the callbacks.
Hey, Jason. Jason asked when we heard about Volume 9 to diverge. Was it in one of the director's commentaries or something, Dawn? When was that mentioned? I know you told me, but I've forgotten.
I can't remember the exact details. I want to say it was when it was back after Volume 7 ended, and they greenlit Volume 8 and 9 simultaneously, which they'd never done before. Like, Rooster Teeth themselves had already announced that both 8 and 9 were going to be in production before 8 had even finished. And I think there was something along those lines of Volume 8 is going to be a longer volume, and then Volume 9 is going to be a shorter volume. We kind of got the vibe that would maybe be because that would be like a travel volume, but of course that's now not the case. Yeah, I'm not sure. It could very much be a thing where it's very much be a thing where it's kind of just blown out of proportion, and maybe it's not going to be something that different.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be shorter. I know that, but
yeah, that's something I believe. But again, things can also change. It's been a year since those announcements were made.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be like a travel volume from Atlas to Vacuo, but
that's what we all had kind of assumed, and we'll kind of maybe do, but they've been serious about maybe doing like an anthology volume where we do like flashes to different characters all over Remnant. There's been theories about some sort of Wonderland volume, like somewhere outside of Remnant to some degree, but it ties into the story. I think those are probably the two big ones at the moment.
And Stark,
now that like
flashback too and stuff.
What was that? Sorry,
Stark.
Yeah.
Well,
flashback volume as well.
Yep.
But with Raven still out of the picture, I don't think that'll happen until she shows back up. But there is reason for her to possibly show up this next episode.
Possibly.
But I'll have to see. But yeah, like the broadcast, and they all go into the portals, and I love how they chose to separate the party here.
Yes.
Because you had Jean and Nora, the two ones that can basically glide/fly, being the ones to be in charge of the operation and kind of guide everyone around. Where you had the only two people who've ever been willing to trust Emerald. It's like, okay, we're gonna stick with her just for her own sake, just in case, and we'll go ahead to Vacuo and make sure. I love that they brought back to the Nora flying thing, because that was something that Nora being able to fly has been something that's kind of been like, I think, teased for a while. Getting back to Volume 4, just the way. But then obviously the big one was in Volume 7. Which
it was Volume 7 with Team Bunky.
Flying around on a.
Megan and Hild.
Thank you. I'm glad you knew exactly what I was going for there. I think at the time we all thought, oh, that's just a funny gag. She looks like she's flying like Harry Potter. And it felt kind of just gaggy there for fun. That was cute. But to actually see it here, it actually was like an actual upgrade development for a weapon and character. I thought was really nice to see it kind of in full here and use that. And obviously Jean gliding around like his Link in Breath of the Wild with his shield.
Yes. I do like to, just before they split up, so we got Ren and Nora sort of give each other a look, and John also places his hand on Nora's shoulder as well. I really like that little scene too.
It's best to keep those two separated so that Nora can continue her kind of like development and kind of like continue her stance, like what she said and stuff.
It makes sense because, like they said, that they're putting a whole kingdom's worth of negativity on Vacuo's doorstep, and they need Ren to help with the masking the emotions and whatnot. So it kind of made sense for Ren to go to Vacuo. The interesting thing too is we do learn in the episode they can't go back is Emerald has gone with them through to Vacuo, so we're not going to have the Emerald Cinder confrontation as we thought we would until at least if Cinder goes through the portal. Unless
Cinder goes through the portal, yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool too. I thought that was nice how they actually separated Emerald from this, so just to push that back a bit, because I think it would have been too much with having Emerald and Cinder. It's not the right place.
We really got to tease that a little later in the episode, or back in time, technically, whatever.
Well, Cinder knows that Emerald's with them, so...
Cinder's seen that, and she kind of had like a... Cinder's
she was a little surprised. Yeah. Sort of her eyes widen.
It's like she was surprised, but also at the same time, she's like... She's shocked at first, but then she kind of like thinks about it more and kind of like, I probably did that. I probably threw it away, kind of thing, almost.
After Watts' talk, you could definitely tell Cinder's thinking a bit differently as well, a bit more logically, and so that makes sense with that sort of reaction. Well, previously, if she had seen that before then, she probably would have gone into a fit of rage, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, like she did when Mercury stormed in back in episode 6.
Yeah.
With the two of them, and she was kind of like, get out, go away kind of thing, but then as soon as... Mercury showed disloyalty. You kind of saw how that broke Cinder down. And again, a similar thing here, but I think Cinder's, rather than getting angry or breaking down, she's kind of thinking, well, I guess this makes sense, at least.
Yeah.
But I'm not happy about it, but it's kind of like, she gets it, at least,
I think she understands that she let Emerald down a bit.
Once that things will be different, she'll be a bit more like, hey, what the fuck? But for now, kind of like, okay, I'll just, fine, let's let that be a thing. I'll fix that problem later.
So we've got the first part of the plan going awry here too, of course, is the sandstorm in Vacuo, which none of them could have planned or foretold for. Yeah. Which of course is causing issues because one, they don't know where the kingdom is. And secondly, the signals, they don't have a signal. And then thirdly, of course, the sandstorm and the people and Grim, and it's not good.
Yeah, I really like the because we've never really been in a super windy area before.
Yeah.
So I love the look of the hair and the models and stuff.
I love the first real glimpse we get. Like we've had little snippets and things, but actual real glimpse of Vacuo, and it's like a sandstorm.
Yeah, well, I mean, like unlike the vault, this is like an actual desert. It's dark, it's gritty, you can't see anything. Like,
they mention about the sandstorms in the books and things as well.
Oh yeah, well I mean it's. This is what you would expect, I guess, from Vacuo.
It's a desert.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of debate over the week, of what is Vacuo the best place to send them and stuff like that. And, at the end of the day, the Vitor's going to get to Vacuo. So, I'm not going to look too much into it. It makes as much sense as anywhere else would. I don't see why anywhere else makes that much more sense.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they immediately addressed in the episode here, this is going to cause problems for Vacuo. Not just emotion, but, also supplies, resources, Vacuo struggles on its own right, let alone putting another
whole kingdom of people.
We also got to remember that this is Remnant, not the real world, in terms of Remnant's population is probably only about, probably under 100,000 living people, especially when you just live in the kingdoms,
Yeah, there was a lot in Atlas, but not like
how many people
millions.
Live Atlas and Mantle, I doubt it reaches the million mark or anything like that, Like, I don't think Remnant's that populated compared to, say, our real...
Well, in the cities, it's more densely populated, but when you think about it, because with the Grim threat and everything, it's definitely not as hugely populated as, like, the real world is, so...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's drastic as moving one country to another country kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's to that level. Well,
if anything, it's going to be a couple 100,000, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on those ones that actually get through the portal. They got to get through the portals. Yeah. Which, so we get back in.
Well, I was going to touch on the relic first.
Oh, yes. Yep.
I think that happens sequentially.
Yes, I like how the relics.
Well, I mean, Cinder shows up first. I guess Cinder shows up first. in the portal realm as like Nora and all that trafficking people through, and yeah, Cinder just Cinder just straight up kills like at least a dozen people, if not more.
Well, we don't know what happens when they fall,
sure,
but yes.
Fine, yeah.
But they get knocked off, yes.
Hope for later. She just knocks 12 people around. Fine, sure, whatever. 12 people fall. That's all I'll say.
Was it 12?
Well, it doesn't also. It doesn't.
I was going to say, did you pause the video and count them?
I like pain. I'm not that sadistic. But yeah, and that just like it doesn't surprise me, but it, in the moment it shocked me and it was like it made my heart sink.
Yeah,
when it happened, just like May's face and stuff.
And you saw, of course, Ruby and the gang like, no, you know, the vacuum, and also like what John and that said at the start too, like the evacuation is the #1 priority. You need to make sure we get the people evacuated. So. Yeah,
and
Cinder pop up and knock people off and stuff is not good.
Like that's the top priority, but then you have like that was Juniper's top
that's
priority.
True. Yeah, Ruby and the gang was getting Penny.
Their whole thing was getting Penny and the relic to Vacuo. That was the main thing. And there's this really nice thing now where because Penny's real, because she's human now.
Yeah.
She has this much greater conflict within her in terms of like doing what she's told, like a robot would.
Yeah.
Or doing what she thinks is right. And she always had that, but to see that kind of like again, like Blake tells her, go. Keep going, we'll deal with Cinder.
Yes, we'll deal with this.
Even though Penny knows she can deal with Cinder.
Yeah.
But she has the relic and she's told not to do so. So it's kind of like she doesn't really know.
She's a little torn. But if only she went through the portal, because then she might have been able to help with the sandstorm, and then also that way the staff's safe as it can be.
Penny's always going to react in terms of what she sees in front of her. You know, she sees her friends in danger. That's what she's going to.
That's what she's going to do. Yeah, that makes sense.
But like you said, they make the good point later where, like, you know, couldn't Penny deal with this storm? And yeah, I love that point from Emerald later in the episode. But yeah, like Cinder kind of is just goading Team RWBY in. Yeah, she wants to fight them. She wants to deal with them.
And then she mentions about Jin, and then we get to see
Jin.
What happened with them. Yeah,
I don't remember what line she's referencing of Oscar. I'm trying to think what exact.
So she was because it was mentioned in chapter 11, I think, where Oscar said this was just the easy part, getting so phase 1 with Ironwood, then getting and with Ambrosius and Penny and the doors, and then that was just the easy part. I think that's what he was referencing to. That's the easy part. Then we got to get everyone out.
Okay, I just don't remember the exact line. Like I knew she was referencing Oscar, obviously, because she says so, but like I couldn't remember the exact line.
Yeah, I think it was in chapter 11 briefly. Okay. Yeah. I remember something about him saying that's just the easy part, and that's what Cinder's referencing there. Like Oscar said that was the easy part. It ends here, and
for some reason, the only thing that comes into my mind is when Oscar says there's still James and his bomb to consider. For some reason, that keeps popping into my head.
No, not that. Yeah,
I know that's not what she's referencing, but for some reason that's the only reason my head can think of. But yeah, like she's gloating and she's kind of like, you know, how do I know about that kind of thing? And I don't know. It didn't come off like it came off very. It didn't come off this new smarter Cinder that we should know. Obviously, she's just distracting everyone.
She is.
Sake.
Yeah,
I get that. But it felt a little jarring at first.
Yeah,
because like I thought Cinder's meant to be different. She's changed. She's still a same newer, boring herself. But you realize in context, she's deliberately
doing it. Yeah, and before we get to what happened next too, we did go back the flashback to where Neo met Watts, and I love how she had the lamp in her hat. I thought that was really cool little thing. And of course the last question for who knows how long. I don't know. It means it's going to be 100 years to the next question can be asked, or if it's a set period of time. So 3 questions within 100 years. So it might be 10 years till we can ask. Now I don't know how that works, but it was the last question that we know of. And you can sort of see Jin's sort of eyes widen when she realised what Cinder, was asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got to see the plan.
Yeah. Before we go further into this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about what felt like a pretty big kind of seed, a very big kind of like MacGuffin, just being used by Cinder here?
Yeah, I was a little annoyed.
I'm like, I felt like the last question should have. I'm curious if the last question ever had a more intense, or I just felt like it was always building to something, and just for Cinder just to use it here. Like, I guess this could have obviously major consequences for when Salem realizes the last question is being used.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's a big consequences with Cinder. But
you can even tell like Watts was a bit like, you gotta ask the question.
I feel like the show, perhaps unintentionally, but it did a really good job of kind of building. When this last question is asked, it will be significant. And granted, what happened with Yang later, you could argue it is, but you know, like, it would give you some knowledge that we didn't know. Like, it didn't give the show, the audience, any new information.
No, it didn't. No, but it showed Team Evil what's going on.
Again, it could go somewhere with Salem, obviously, with the last question being used.
Yeah,
but it definitely was like, man, you saved the relic for this. But I get it, especially because this volume is very much let's develop and make Cinder better.
Yeah,
I get it. I just think that it's surprising to me, and not maybe in a good way.
I guess in a way it does make a lot of sense, but yes, we always had that last question looming. What was going to be used? It does logically make sense that someone uses the question for their own gain.
Otherwise you're holding around, like, why keep holding on to it if you can just use it?
Yeah.
So I get that. Like, Neo maybe couldn't. Fair. Or she also knew it was leverage for Cinder, and, you know, knowledge isn't going to help her kill RWBY. That's what she cares about. That's why she didn't use it. Salem didn't use it because she didn't know the password, and the rest of them didn't use it because they, you know, weren't sure. You know, they didn't want to waste the last question.
Yes.
But it kind of feels like Cinder almost wasted the last question here, so I'm very curious to see how that works.
See how that sort of, the consequences from that. We got to see what they sort of planned at the CCT, or the compound, whatever it was called.
I think it's the Central Command. Central Command,
that's it. Well, she does seem to be thinking things through a little bit more, Jason, but, I don't know. I guess in this phase she's more acting for herself than for Salem.
Well, it's kind of the thing where she is thinking this through in terms of she's planning. She's getting all the knowledge at her disposal, but she's not thinking to the point of, well, what will Salem think about this? So it's a bit of both. Like, I agree. It makes sense and it doesn't at the same time.
She also might not know about the 3-question rule every 100 years. There's also that possibility.
Maybe not. Maybe she doesn't realize it's the last question. That's a fair point.
It's
I don't
possible.
know if you would necessarily know that. That's a good point. But it's funny that we saw the flashback of them all conversing and stuff.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me think that I'm thinking now, going back, I wonder if we didn't need to see all that flashback last episode if we're going to get it again here.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been cool.
It was very brief,
I guess, obviously, you'd watch last episode and you think, how is all this planned?
Then we see it through this.
But then in this episode, they show you, this is what they were planning. Oh, by the way, Cinder knew all this as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to see an edit of the last episode without any of the stuff in there.
Well, they did show some different things as well. But, yeah, I guess. There's a bit overlapping in a couple parts, but...
It just felt like here's what they discussed last episode, and here it is again this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, Cinder's here. Like, I get it for, like, the Cinder point.
They did sort of, like, it wasn't as long, and it was cut a little bit, and we got to see some different parts, so... But yeah, what happened in Central Command, though? I love the editing with that. You see everyone getting up, you know, freaking out, and then cut to them all dead or passed out.
Man, screw the music, man, in this episode.
I know.
Sure. Like, obviously, because this is the same track they used in the score in the end.
Yes.
Credits. And it's just like, especially after everything that happens in the episode, you hear this song again at the end of the score. I'm like, you asshole.
It's
such a creepy, very like, it's Cinder's, but it's very Neo in the sense of, like, it's cute, but it's freaking creepy.
Yeah, it's like if I were recalling right, it's like a creepy carnival sort of. Not creepy carnival, not quite.
Or kind of like a music box.
Yeah.
Thing, like very very fairy tale.
Yes.
Very triumphant, but it had this really creepy undertone kind of thing, like a music box, like an ice cream truck. Kind of thing. It has this. It's nice, but it has this. It's creepy association,
especially with what's going on in that scene. Yeah.
Exactly, and and Neo's jumping around, hitting people in the face with her. Stuff's very cute. And then we have, I think a really interesting dialogue here, where obviously Cinder walks away. We'll be back for you. You deserve this, Arthur, and walks away. Am I the only one that felt more like a threat to me?
I didn't feel like a threat at all. He's got all this power. He's finally able to do what he wants with the kingdom through the Central Command now. He's got what he wanted. And so,
like the way she says it, I 100% agree with you. Like how she delivered the line.
oh, okay, yeah.
But just with the whole, you can't just be deserving. You have to be worthy.
Yeah.
A very important thing between these two, like, is what's worthy of this kind of thing. I'm 100%. I could be looking too much into this. I get that, but it just to be like, okay. A second question is, how is what's going to escape right now?
Oh, he'll find a door probably.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he'll figure that out.
Cinder said we'll come back for you, but does Cinder really care? Salem didn't care that Watts was gone. The only reason Salem cared was because Watts came back and had control of Penny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Watts was left to the wolves. Salem was never going to save Watts.
Well, I think to me it seems like Cinder says yes, they'll be back, but whether or not they'll actually come back will be a thing.
I can just imagine this idea of Cinder saying that with the intention of not coming back, and let's say Alice starts falling and Watts is like, okay, I've got to get out of here. I can just imagine like the room, say, being sealed off, or something like that, can't get out, and it's Cinder's way of getting rid of Watts, you know, just throwing him out of the pitch after all the bullshit they've been through, after everything he said, you know, while it was right. I'm just saying, I can imagine Cinder doing that.
Yeah, I guess I could see her doing that.
But you are right in the way that Cinder delivered that line. It didn't come off that way. I agree with you there. But just the way it's like, but I almost feel like it was so sincere that it was almost condescending.
Yeah,
maybe in a sense. So I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what's next episode. What happens with him if he makes it out or not? Because if Cinder doesn't come back, sure he could get an airship and just escape. Sure. But I can also see the possibility of him not having enough time to maybe escape because he's so happy, he's so comfortable, he kind of maybe just like loses track to some degree.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll
see what happens with what's next episode, especially.
Yeah, we'll find out. But you can see here that he was the one who stopped the broadcast with Jean,
and also sending a little suicide drone into the chaos with the bomb and stuff. Get that back into play.
Yeah.
Releasing the Aesops and stuff as well.
So that's when we got to see them. And I really liked the little scene with Harriet and Vine as well in the ship too. We got to find out that Clover meant something to Harriet more than just being her leader or teammate.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether it was more like she loved him or had a romantic interest in him, or perhaps he was more there was some form of relation as in like a father, or I don't know. Hopefully we do find out some more, but I did like that, and it just showed a bit more as to why she's so angry.
It's one of those things where, like, obviously we've had discussion on this like a few last episodes about Crow and Clover.
Yeah,
we had that discussion I think 2 episodes ago. And I will say having Clover, having Harriet and Clover being a thing, I think could possibly further, like, you know, like you could further imply the Crow Clover stuff.
Well, there also does necessarily just because Harriet loved Clover doesn't mean that he loved her back in that way.
No, but that's also what I mean. Like giving Clover a love interest in this respect, I don't think distracts from the Crow Clover stuff. I think it almost, because now it feels like two lovers fighting over an ex-partner almost in terms of Crow. And I feel like that's not the intention.
No.
But I feel like that's the interpretation a lot of people are going to have.
Possibly, yeah.
But again, it's still also the idea of two people who just respected and cared for Clover fighting over a lost friend.
Yeah.
But I doubt this fandom will interpret it that way.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah.
But no, I love the scene. I love Vine and Harriet scene here with the bomb, and like Vine being the most logical one, saying, "Hey, this isn't right." It's like, hey, Clover would have done this. It's like, yeah, I know he would have, but that doesn't mean he would have been right either.
No, like, we don't need to set the bomb off anymore.
They're really just punching Clover into the ground with Robin and Vine these past few episodes. But again, I like it because it really helps further influence these characters and kind of shows you that, you know, because again, the whole thing of last season was, you know, Crow was the idiot. He was the bad guy working with Tyrion. But this volume is like, no, guys, Clover was the bad one.
Yeah.
You just didn't know it.
He was the one following orders when really they weren't the right course of action, which is Vine and Marrow, of course, is starting to see that it wasn't the right course of action. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious what Elm is in all this. I'm next episode or not. But obviously we see freaking Robin just crashing the airship.
Yes, destroying that moment, and then Crow coming through in the windscreen. Yeah, Harriet does arm the bomb as well.
Yeah, and I love it too because obviously again you have this like Clover connection between the two.
Yes.
With Crow and Harriet fighting, you have seeds of that back in episode 4, I think it was.
Yeah.
And also, if there's anyone who should be able to fight a speedster, it should be the person who trained a speedster.
Yeah, exactly.
Crow trained RWBY, so therefore he should be the one most capable to fight Harriet one-on-one and actually win, despite not having the same powers. So I like that. I'm really curious. It wasn't what I was expecting to see.
No.
But again, you can look in the intro, it is Clover, it is Harriet and Crow.
Yeah.
It's the intro, standing
That's very true.
back to back.
Yep.
Within Clover's Clover.
Yep.
So that's also like, I was like, oh, now that fight makes even more sense. Like,
yes. It was going to happen at some point. But unfortunately, of course, when they're having this fight, Watts decides to take over the airship, hack into it.
Still wants to just crash.
And it looks like it turned towards Atlas, from what we could see. So it was going towards Mantle, but then it seemed to turn around and go back to Atlas. And, of course, Robin's chasing it. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. While Vine is hanging from the ship as well.
Yes, yeah, while it's hanging on.
Yeah, so then we go back into the portal at this point, and I just want to say this episode had a lot of really good choreography in terms of the fighting, at least in terms of the moves themselves. Like you had the 4 people fighting Cinder. You had moments later where RWBY and Neo were fighting, and it looked really cool. But it was from afar. It was all really cut up, really a lot, and it's just kind of like I just want to see. I know this is hard. I know this isn't easy, but again, because RWBY hasn't used her scythe super well in like recent volumes and stuff, you know, like in terms of like, you know, she used it against the Alpha Sentinel, you know, with one swing. She didn't use a scythe at all with the Harriet fight, really.
No, not really.
Like we haven't seen like that kind of choreography. We saw so much cool moves and choreography here of RWBY using a scythe against Neo.
Yes.
It was only like a few seconds at a time. Then you see it like from a very far shot. Or then you'd see it like cut away, then cut back.
I think because there was so much going on, and this is a really big space as well. I
completely agree with that. I completely understand that. I'm not criticizing that. I just really want to see, like, could we get like just a solid minute of Neo and RWBY fighting, and appreciating all that, rather than just cutting back and forth between lots of different things. That's all. And again, I know that obviously that could be a tease for this episode where we get something like that.
Yeah.
But again, like it was all there. Like
it was just setting the scene, and
fighting was there. It's just I just want to focus on a fight. You know, that was the big criticism of Volume 5, is that there was a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah.
We had Mercury versus Yang 2, but there was no focus on it because there was so much going on. So I just wanted to really say that I really like what was going on there, and I hope we get more of that this episode for sure. Because there was a lot of really good stuff there.
There was,
Blast fighting, Cinder fighting.
And it was Penny. I liked with Penny with her weapons as well, because we did discuss that how she's going to use her real weapons. Now she's created some, like how Cinder creates her blades. Penny's created her own blades, which is really cool.
I didn't notice it at first, but like when she jumps in, and I love that again. Penny has more of an attitude now.
Yeah,
she has this more. It's like why didn't you just learn your lesson? Like the old Penny act or say she's like that, as well, which I really liked. But then again, like Cinder is learning, and then Penny obviously tries to use weapons, realizes she doesn't have weapons anymore.
Yeah,
gets struck. Then she forms new ones, much like she did back in episode 5 with the Maiden powers, forming a new blade. So I love that. And
we haven't mentioned the big thing.
Yeah, before all this, I just want to get the fighting out of the way, because I was like,
yes,
again, that's the stuff I focus on. So I want to get that out of the way.
There was a lot of that going on. Yeah.
So, but we do have a nice panning shot of all 4 members of Team RWBY fighting Cinder. That was really good. It was just a little zoomed out. You couldn't tell what was happening.
Yeah.
And also because, this is a major credit to the episode. So much was happening on screen at all times.
Yeah.
Which, again, was a negative in terms of what you actually saw of the fighting, but a major positive in terms of the atmosphere.
Yeah, you can see the people running past and the screams.
There was so much going on. It was distracting, but in a good way in terms of like it felt real, it felt meaningful, it felt like organic, it felt like everyone was running for safety, and it felt like genuine.
Yeah.
But obviously you have the 4 of them fighting. Cinder goes up to gloat and stuff. You could see RWBY was kind of feeling it. She was kind of feeling the silver eyes kind of getting there.
Yeah.
But again, Cinder it's like Cinder's like the line of like if I've learned one thing from you all, it's that I've learned that I can't do this alone.
Yes, and in comes Neo.
In comes Neo. I love that Yang was obviously the one to kind of see that and kind of jump in the way. Before we get to it, I will say that I feel like it would have been nice to have had a conversation or a note or at least acknowledgement that our heroes are aware Neo is in the picture. Because it just like it feels like obviously this happens, and everyone's fighting Neo and stuff, and it's kind of like
yeah. Well, I'm assuming they would known
a year and a half, and it just feels like, but yet we like Juniper knew that they were here, that Neo was here, and we don't know if our heroes knew that, and I feel like that's just a bit of like a like a bit of a nag in the back of my mind, which kind of like
I assume they do, but we don't know that for sure. One of those things,
but also RWBY loves to fight. They love to talk during their fights and stuff. And I was expecting like a, why are you here? It's like, I thought you were gone. We didn't get any of that. We just got straight fighting, which again, considering what happened to Yang, I get why.
I think that's why. But
I assume we still get that this episode.
Yeah, I think we're going to get it more when we see more of the RWBY Neo fight, definitely. I think at the moment RWBY's sort of in defense survival mode and then shock 100%. After what just happened.
It's kind of like if I feel like, it's just again, because you haven't seen this person in a year and a half, you thought they were gone, they just showed up, and it's just kind of like, but again, because we knew that they showed up, it's frustrating that we don't know if they know.
Yeah, I'm assuming the guys told them, but
this episode.
Yeah.
Again, maybe they are fully aware that Neo's here. They just hadn't on-screen discussed it. You know, I guess that was all. Like again, but again, that could easily be corrected this episode. So I'm not
I think it will when we get to see more of the fight.
And hopefully you get to see a full-on focused fight between those two.
Yes.
I loved Weiss fighting Cinder. But just before we move too far, we do get the moment of where Yang jumps in, and again I like that Yang knows that attacking Neo isn't going to do anything. Yeah. Because Neo can block most things with her umbrella, so that's not going to work. She knows that trying to punch Neo isn't going to work, because you'll probably just block it or reverse it or etc. So it's one of those things where I think this gets criticized a lot when this happens, because it's a trope where you jump in for the sacrifice and push someone out of the way, and it's kind of like, you could have attacked the person, you could have done this, could have done that, could have done everything else. But in this context, it does work.
Yes.
Because Yang knows what Neo's capable of and knows what will and won't work.
I also think it was really spur of the moment for all of that, but yeah.
That is often the justification, but I feel like this one actually has a bit more deeper context to it.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
But jumps in, pushes her out of the way, takes the brunt of the hit.
And she lost her aura too that we saw.
Aura basically gets knocked out, and is basically falling.
Yes.
And RWBY's just got pushed out of the way, doesn't know what's happening, she's getting up. Weiss is trying to stay focused and kind of keep everyone together. Blake's immediately just running for her. And obviously throws the shroud, and no one's going to catch it. And it misses. And Yang falls.
That whole scene with the heartbeat and silence and just the slow motion of it all, it was done so good. And had so stressed, and then it was just so much it was so shocking. And then we had, of course, Blake yelling at Yang, which, because people mentioned that Aaron had said at some point, I think in an interview or something, that there's
on Twitter back in July or something. She mentioned
there's one line that she blew out her voice basically because she screamed, and we assume, well, I believe it's probably this one, because that Yang was so well. Driven, it was just so good. Heart-wrenching.
I've said time and time again, Bumblebee doesn't do much for me. Blake and Yang as characters don't do a total for me, but that hurt. That hurt.
Yeah, and her crying afterwards and Weiss consoling her, and then sort of just gets really angry and runs off towards Neo. Just that whole it was so good.
I love so many of the memes that come out. There's Feral Blake memes going around now, and there's also the funniest one I see is Volume 7 Blake. It's I don't want to murder ever again. Volume 8 Blake, let's murder.
Murder.
So I love that. But But again, like she has that immediate reaction, something that RWBY didn't really get to have.
Yes.
You know, RWBY's kind of in shock, but then she kind of has to go into defense mode, as we said.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is always one of those things where, like, you know, is that realistically what would happen? Is that just, you know, for the sake of the fight? I don't know, but it didn't bother me too much or anything like that. Like, I love that Blake got that reaction, and, like, you know, Weiss was kind of trying to keep it together. But, you know, obviously would fight Cinder instead. And we continue on with the Blake and RWBY versus Neo fight. Before Blake kind of has this moment where she kind of takes a step back and looks at the surroundings and kind of like doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, does she go help Penny? Does she go help Weiss? Does she continue helping RWBY for like just revenge's sake? Like, is that the right thing to do?
I think she realizes too that with Neo and
you know,
RWBY, she's just getting in the way. She's not getting really many hits in there too. So yeah. It's Weiss who needs help. Weiss can't fight Cinder on her own. Then of course Penny showed up, but it's all stressful.
Yeah, but I like that too. Like Weiss using the gravity glyph to kind of pull Cinder away.
Yeah.
Using the sword to block from the glass shrapnel.
Yes.
And stuff. That was all really nice. And the glass exploding, which I always love Cinder going old school and doing that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Like with the bow or the glass and stuff. So I really like that. So I mean, I guess, you know, spend the next, you know, bloody 15 minutes probably just talking about, you know, what's happened with Yang. I will say this, because I think the least likely situation here is Yang is just dead. I think that's the least likely
Yeah, I think that's least likely. I wouldn't feel like that. I will say
that as someone, and I've said this 100 times before on this podcast, I think, that I love motivation. I love reassurance. I love characters reaffirming why they're doing the things they're doing, and motivation and purpose. And I love that kind of being beat over the head with that kind of stuff. Yeah. And a part of me does really think if Yang is gone, that is excellent motivation. There's excellent fuel to the fire. It brings Blake into this fight, wanting to defeat Salem and get justice. It brings Weiss into this fight. And yes, they have their reasonings. Blake obviously has always fought for the best of the world, has always fought for what she thought was right.
Yeah.
You know, but she doesn't have that tie to Salem like RWBY and Yang now do.
Yep.
And we could get those again in volumes to come still.
Yes.
And Weiss, you know, it was all about Mantle and Atlas. Well, that's gone now, you know.
Yeah.
Is it just going to be simple as, oh, well, my friends are fighting, or, oh, this is the right thing to do? I like a little more substance than that personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the idea of Yang. Now, here's the thing. That can all be accomplished, and Yang can still survive.
Yeah.
If Yang is, say, gone for a while, and then they bring it again, because they could just use the Relic of Creation to bring her back, because like, she might not be dead in a sense.
No.
So the Relic of Creation might not fall under the ruling of bringing her back because she's not dead. She kind of just she got like Thanos snapped.
I don't think the staff creation is something that creates something. So I don't know if it could just bring Yang back from wherever she is. Maybe it could create a doorway to where she is, but...
Possibly, but also remember, too, that they didn't create anything with the new Penny.
They
just
did.
Moved from one place to another.
But they did, though. So it created a new robot version of Penny.
But it used all of her existing robot parts.
But created a new version of it, which then disappeared when the doors were created.
No, but I'm saying is that nothing new was in turn created, necessarily. It was just simply move that from here to there, and Penny's soul was left there.
Yeah,
you know,
but it
wasn't necessarily anything you knew. So that's what I'm saying. That I'm just saying, if Yang is not dead in the literal sense, and she's just wiped, she's just like blinked from existence. She hasn't died. She just doesn't exist anymore. I could imagine that being another loophole to where the relic. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but I'm just saying, like you said, or create a portal to where she is. I'm saying that like there are reasons to where she could be dead, and our heroes get remotivated for why they're doing what they're doing. Like when Kira died, like when Penny died, like getting that remotivation, and then Yang getting brought back at some point, and that motivation still being there because they realize now what they can lose.
Yeah.
I guess
I get all of that. Yeah.
So, I guess that's what I'm kind of hoping for. But I also understand that going an entire off season without knowing Yang's fate will be heartbreaking to a lot of people.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Hopefully, we get a little bit of a tease. But
so
we don't know if there's going to be an end credit scene either, so it's possible that could be an end credit scene.
I feel like the crew have been teasing an end credit scene all week. If Arnold did a poll about it, and then half the crew have been responding to that, being like, "I'll put my vote in there," kind of thing. They could just be trolling us, of course. But I just I can't help but picture that rubble that destroyed Atlas, that mantle, Salem's arm just coming out of the ground.
That's what we originally thought.
Perfectly easy end credit scene to throw in there.
Or it could be Yang waking up wherever she is. Plus those people who got knocked off as well.
You know, obviously there could be the idea that the only person that could get to Yang, maybe, like, again, if Yang is somewhere, if Yang is somewhere else, like an afterlife, because we know an afterlife exists in RWBY. Or at least a purgatory in a sense does. Or we know both. Ozpin confirmed that both. That there's a purgatory and an afterlife.
Yeah.
That if, say, this puts Yang in not quite the afterlife, but it puts
in the in between,
like the void or whatever. That maybe, like, I'm curious how, like, you know, Raven has a connection to Yang and can create portals to them.
Yeah,
so I'm curious if that will have, again, I obviously know the Raven reach is always like a bit of a stretch because we don't know if she's going to play a role in the story at all.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that's the possibility there. Obviously, if it's dead in afterlife, I would say, okay, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
If it's, say, the purgatory, I could say, okay, I could kind of interpret that a bit better if the portal could go there. But, and obviously the big thing with, the big theory is now a Wonderland volume, where we'll get like an Alice in Wonderland thing, where Yang will be in this weird dimension and she has to escape, or Team RWBY will jump in after her as well, kind of thing. The only thing about that is that I'm like, Team RWBY would have no idea what they're jumping into. Like, again, like, I get the idea of like, oh, Yang fell, we don't know what's going to happen, let's jump in there after her.
Yeah.
Because that's what we think
it's
is
like
right.
Blake almost did that, in a way.
Yeah, it just feels to me like that's a bit of a like that's a bit far-fetched, like, for me looking at it. Like, you know,
I could see maybe Blake doing it, but I don't really see the others doing it so much.
But it's just like, again, like, it's the idea of what's more important to you, Yang, or your mission, like saving Remnant from Salem kind of thing. Yeah. It's like, I guess with the themes of this volume, arguably, yes, the Yang is more important, I guess. Oh, like, Ren and Oscar was a big point earlier in the volume. Like, one life is worth all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know as much of, like, they will jump in after her. Maybe Cinder wins for once and throws them all into the void, and they all end up in this void together.
Maybe.
That, I think, I would believe more. And then it's like it's literally just a volume where it's just them escaping Wonderland. Because there's this idea that, like, what if all the Team RWBY characters had two inspirations for their fairy, not just one?
Yeah.
Like, again, like, you have Weiss obviously being Snow White, but then she always had vibes of Rapunzel in her story. Yep. You know, granted that also ties into Salem as well, admittedly.
Yeah.
You obviously have, this might be a cop out, but Blake being both the Beauty and the Beast, while it's the same fairy tale, is still two inspirations she has.
Yeah.
You could see Yang as both Goldilocks and Alice.
Yeah.
Obviously being parts of her inspiration. Now, what that leaves for RWBY's second inspiration, I don't quite know yet. But I think there's a possibility of, like, that every character having, like, a second undertoned inspiration that we just haven't known about.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what I've forgotten the name of it. From The Wizard of Oz, the girl's name. Is it I can't remember what her name is. Dorothy. RWBY always had Dorothy vibes as well.
That's true. With the books though, we also think that Theodore is the Dorothy inspiration.
Yes.
Because he had his ruby glove.
Yeah.
So that was but again,
there's a bit of a stretch.
Doesn't mean they both couldn't have, but at the same time, there's also the theory that all of our four girls will replace the original four Wizard of Oz characters.
Yes, yeah.
Like someone will become the Scarecrow, someone will become the Tin Man, someone will become Dorothy, someone will become the Cowardly Lion. Kind of thing, but like the good versions of those characters with with their heart, with their mind, with their etc.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So it makes sense that RWBY could be Dorothy along with Theodore, because RWBY will end up replacing Theodore, and Oscar will obviously replace Oz.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, just vanish at the end of the series, which he could, because again, if they succeed, then Ozpin might also cease to exist. Whether or not that means Oscar, I don't know. So yeah, if you any extra thoughts, any extra ideas of the Yang stuff, what did you initially think? I guess let's go back to you. Like, what did you initially think happen?
It is in what we know as the in between. Like this, where the doors are and everything's definitely not in the vault, because you can see. Oh, we did mention that last scene too with Winter and Ironwood.
Oh,
just thought of that. We skipped that.
Yeah.
Well, I mention it now because we see Winter in the vault, and of course,
sorry, even before that.
Yeah.
Sorry. we have Ironwood and Jock.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Ironwood wakes up and Jarks is having a bit of a go at him.
And they're gloating, the back and forth and stuff, and obviously,
I'd say it's Watts has let him out.
Well, that's the thing. I always assumed it was just a matter of Atlas losing stability, losing power, kind of.
It was specifically his door, though, on one side. I guess that could possibly be it, but
I personally didn't interpret that as Watts. It could be.
I thought it was Watts, only because it makes sense to let Ironwood out, because they know that the whole plan was them to lock up Ironwood.
I don't disagree, but just the way that like it looked like Atlas was like shaking and falling apart, power's going down, it's all just kind of going to crap.
Yeah.
And the way it was like it didn't just turn off.
It did. No, it flickered.
It fuzzed like just the power went out.
Yeah.
That's why I'm more assuming it was kind of just, it was meant to be a coincidental thing. But look, with Ironwood, there's been a whole thing about the volume of Ironwood, and is his semblance having a role? But we technically don't know what his semblance is because he isn't in the show, kind of thing. It's like a creator thing, so we don't know exactly how much his semblance is having an effect or not, and stuff. And honestly, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, everyone hates Jock. I get that. Everyone hates Jock. I get that. But
but I blew him up.
Yeah, like I didn't feel bad for the guy. But
I didn't like Jux, but
Ironwood didn't have that right.
No,
I think is the point. Regardless of everything Jacques has done, Ironwood didn't have the rights to be executioner in that situation.
No,
and I'm not saying from a story, but like obviously Jacques and Ironwood have been built up as rivals since Volume 4. So I'm not saying that Ironwood killing Jacques isn't valid or isn't like a good example. I wouldn't expect Weiss or Winter to kill their father.
No,
like but it just was like it was good in the way that it almost felt like. No, again, most people enjoyed it. Most people didn't feel the way we do.
Yeah.
Most people were just like, ha, screw you, Jacques. Which, whatever. It's sure.
So Weiss had a plan to come back, like, for Winter to bring in.
It's like, I would have just, like, took all the wind out of that story.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I felt when it happened. And I was kind of like, I'm not mad or disappointed or anything, but it's kind of like, it made me feel. Yeah. I don't know what I felt.
Yeah, it was like that.
I don't like Jacques. He deserved that fate, but I'm surprised Ironwood did it. It just,
I don't know.
I wasn't expecting it. It just really took me off. Okay, it made me feel unsettled, and I just don't know why.
I just had a thought too. The four girls end up falling and like into this in between purgatory thing. Maybe Weiss will see Jacques now that he's dead.
Well, yeah.
I just had that thought.
I think this would be different than like an afterlife.
But yeah,
that would be fun. If people, and I'm curious too, like if we'll have a bunch of people where we end up, because obviously like it doesn't also feel like Cinder made a bunch of people fall into the void.
Yes, yeah, it wasn't just Yang. Yeah,
people will show up wherever our heroes show up as well, or just at least Yang shows up.
Don't know.
So then obviously we get to the vault, and obviously Winter's waiting on I guess waiting on recon from everyone before she goes into the portal herself.
Yeah, you can see the doorway there, so it's definitely a different sort of like where the doors and all the portals and everything is a completely different sort of dimension, and it's not actually in the vault itself.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No,
it's in between.
It's like but it's like a fifth vault in a sense.
Yeah, which is really cool. But I liked how this scene sort of like did clarify that too.
No. Yeah, so then obviously you have the you have Yang's cat pointer from Volume 2.
Yeah.
Here, with different results, of course.
Yeah.
Winter Ironwood strikes, and Winter blocks most of it. And again, I loved Ironwood's like kind of like I've chased a lot of shadows over the year. I love that line. Always expecting betrayal. I never thought it'd come from you.
Yeah.
Again, I generally think like Ironwood. Again, he said at the start of the volume that the only humanity Ironwood has is Winter, and and he pushed that away, so now he has nothing. But you can tell, it's still, again, he's going to do what he thinks is right above all else.
Yes,
I to a degree I respect. I respect that to a degree. But yeah, it still doesn't mean he's enjoying it, and I don't think
No.
he is. I think he hates he has to do this, but he feels like he has to.
I feel like he thinks of Winter almost as a daughter, like a father-daughter relationship as well, and the fact now that he has to face her and she's not stepping aside, she's fighting him, and he's sort of
and to a degree, I think Winter saw Ironwood as a father for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, because she didn't really have a good one with Jacques, so she kind of always saw Ironwood, but now it's that struggle, the whole volume of the struggle of like, you know, is Ironwood as bad or worse than Jacques? And I think she's had to come to that realization that you know, one of those is probably true.
Yeah, and that Ironwood's now enemy of the kingdom, as she says. But
above all else, above who her father is, above all else, Atlas is the center of it all. And she'll fight. She'll never wager to fight the enemies of this kingdom, and she won't start now. Again, shout out to Elizabeth, who's just incredible. Everything Winter does.
So we're going to have that face-off with Winter and Ironwood. We've still got Ruby and Neo. We have Weiss and Penny and Blake with Cinder. Yeah. And then the team down at Vacuo. Oh, yeah, the Grim turned up right at the end.
Susie told back, like, oh, we're going to get some Ravagers.
Yep.
From the books and Amity Arena as well.
Yes.
So what did you initially think when Yang fell in? Like, what was your initial reaction? What did you think had happened initially?
Well, I wasn't sure, like, if she's actually died or really gone. We know Embracer said, do not fall. But we don't know, of course, what's going to happen. It sort of seemed like she just disappeared. You sort of see sort of like a flicker, like she almost fell through like a layer of something. But,
It reminded me very much of...
they're in between. We don't know. This isn't Remnant. We don't know where it is and what's going to happen to those who fall. No idea.
I'll say that.
That's why I wasn't sure.
Kind of like aura breaking.
Yeah.
It looked a lot like when Ozma was snapped out of existence.
Yes.
By the God of Light. It had that kind of like orangey, burning effect. Very much similar to that. And that's what I mean. Where I could see the idea of, if we're not doing like a Wonderland, if we're not doing that crazy of a new volume kind of thing, if we are just continuing along the course,
yes,
I could see an idea of like, Yang has been wiped from existence, but she's not dead.
No.
She just isn't here right now.
No.
Where she is, I don't know. But and that's why I think something could bring her back, whether that's like a creation or something else.
And they won't be able to ask Jin either, since the question's all been used up.
Yeah.
If they get the lamp, that is. So Nia's still got the lamp. We saw.
I like too that Penny had the relic on her back.
Yep.
Throughout most of this. I didn't notice that the first time I watched it, and I went back and like, oh, okay, she does have the relic on her.
It's collapsed down in size. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, we can assume this will be a long episode.
Yeah. Do we have anything yet? I doubt it.
I'm going to look up now. There was a fake one I saw around. I'm going to double the Reddit now. See if up. It is also daylight savings now, so I guess things should be happening an hour earlier. So maybe there's a thumbnail. But the last few weeks haven't been too kind in that regard. But normally they would be out by now. But the past few weeks they've been quite delayed.
They have been, yeah.
I know Chris, the head audio guy, and he's in Grim Campaign as well, was teasing the export of the volume a few days ago. So it seems like they actually might have gotten this done pretty early. Like, it doesn't seem like this was as like a last minute of an upload as the finales tend to be.
Yep,
so that's good. I think that break really did them a lot of good. And that's the thing too. That's something I will say. I don't think I noticed. I'm trying to think if I noticed it in volume 7. I don't think there was, but there definitely wasn't any sort of like. Didn't feel like there's any kind of shortcuts or drop in quality at the end of this volume. Like, you look at volume 5, volume 6, you kind of feel like the last episodes kind of feel like a little shorter, or a little kind of like, let's cut around certain things, like, let's like not show this fight kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember volume 7. I think volume 7 was pretty consistent in terms of quality. It was pretty
consistent.
Whereas like volume 5 and 6 at the very end dipped a bit just because of like time, getting an episode out. But this volume hasn't felt that way so far. Obviously,
no, it hasn't.
Could change.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've very good at keeping on top of themselves with the breaks and stuff that they've had.
Yes.
And even with working from home and COVID, and stuff, as well. My Brave browser has decided to crash, so I can't look through Reddit right now. So, oh wait, there it goes. Looking through. No sign of a thumbnail yet. But in terms of what I think happens in this episode,
I don't know what's going to happen with the finale.
I mean, from the feel of it, even though this would be insane, really, when you think about it, but I guess at least a minute each worth of Harriet Crow, minute of Neo Ruby, a minute of Penny Cindermore with Weiss and Blake maybe.
And what's has got the bomb now? Is the bomb going to drop on Atlas?
Yeah. From there, I assume Atlas will fall. We're going to see more. Are we going to see more of Vacchio? Are we going to see some surprises in Vacchio?
Yes, hopefully some people can come out and help them with the Grim.
Someone owes me $10 if Amity Arena crashes in Vacchio like next episode. I don't think it will. Time-wise, it take a very long time for that.
Yeah, I don't know where that is currently.
I think it's like a week before it would crash if it's like going that far the way I've theorized. Like a satellite takes a while before it gets to the other side of the planet before it crashes. I'm just saying. If it does, sometimes be $10. But I don't know. I mean, I guess we're seeing a lot of fights, and then, I mean, again, I assume Cinder has to win here. I don't think that's much of a question. I don't think Cinder can lose again.
No,
but we've said that before.
I don't know. Yeah, is she going to take the maiden powers from Penny, or is she going to get defeated, or what's going to happen?
That's a good point too. Let's say Team RWBY, Weiss, Blake get knocked off into the void by Cinder and end up where Yang is, and they have to escape next volume. What happens with Penny?
Yeah.
What is with Nora and John as well?
It's very true now.
That was one thing. Like, they showed John in the portals, kind of
trying to get people out, and saw the.
But I felt big time with this episode. Like, I felt a little like I didn't know where Nora was. Like, why was
there was a lot of Nora.
Again, her priority was get the civilians to safety. That was her priority. So I assume she either stuck to that, or she's currently in Atlas helping people on the other side.
Yeah, she probably is in and out of the
that was like a little disconnect for me. I feel like would have been cool to see like a little visual of that.
Yeah,
but again, maybe just.
I did like the first scene we saw with John as well, when he goes through the portal to the civilians. They're all hiding behind the stairs and throw the rock at him and stuff. I like that little scene too. It was really funny.
He didn't have his aura deactivated. It's just aura only protects from fatal injuries.
You
can still have comedy moments. Like that.
Yes.
Aura doesn't ruin everything. It doesn't. So yeah, I mean, I hope we get a lot of fighting, and I assume a sad ending to some degree.
Yeah. I'm not ready for it. Yeah, definitely not ready.
Again, the only positive thing is, and I still feel like this is just reaching, it's just asking for too much, but like a Vacchio save from the book characters, but again, I feel like a bit too much to ask. I know it makes sense, but I just feel like it's a bit too much in terms of production.
I know.
To have all those models ready and have them.
We never know. They might actually have them ready.
Maybe, but I mean, yes, you're right. They 100% could, but
yeah.
I mean, I guess most of the models from last season were, but I don't know. Just for one scene to have those models ready, just for one scene already, feels like a bit much. But again, I don't know. Hopefully though, hopefully for sure, that would be great.
Hopefully for sure. I'm just trying to fix the great one here. Her corset was twisted.
I'm kind of curious as well. Like again, I'm still on the bandwagon of like Nora getting the power if Penny has to lose it. So I'm curious if that could maybe play a role. If maybe Penny is, I don't know. I can't imagine killing Penny as soon as we bring her back.
No.
I imagine Penny will be around for the long haul for now.
Well, she didn't have the maiden powers, absolutely, but because she has the maiden powers now, it does give her some red flags.
Yeah, but yeah.
Oh, hail the great one! I'm just trying to fix up her outfit because it's all twisted. I need to fix her thing too because it's come unstitched. Well, hail the great one! And Waste and Pocket Neo. Woo. Yeah. So no Corner Remnant next weekend, so it will be in 2 weeks' time, and we'll be discussing the finale then.
Damn you, chocolate bunny.
Yeah. But yes. Till then, I guess. Thank you all for watching and hanging out. Those watching on YouTube and on Twitch.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
And we'll see you all in the next one for the finale. Yeah. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.